Cool. Well, I want to talk to folks today about a new proposal that we've been workshopping in the ecosystem for. We've been talking about it since FDS 6, but FDS 7 is a great forcing function to actually try to put some things on paper. It's still a work in progress. It still has a lot of room to synthesize feedback from everyone, but wanted to get some things down so that we can iterate on them, align, and be open with the ecosystem about how thinking is evolving here. So give me a second. Let me share my screen, and we'll go for it. Um, cool. So this is a proposal to put on-chain rewards and incentives between on-ramps and Filecoin L1 activities so that we can share more go-to-market and kind of collaboration in ways that are economically aligned and kind of guaranteed within the network, and where this also gives on-ramps and storage providers working with on-ramps strong alignment for continuing within the Filecoin network and ecosystem, and making sure that as they build out the awesome businesses that you have just been hearing about in the previous presentation, that they have strong value alignment and value accrual to the Filecoin ecosystem, Phil, and the kind of like overall on-chain and storage provider usage within the community. So kind of context on where we are from like a Filecoin value accrual. Right now, there's 5+ ecosystem funded on-ramps that are really tuning and powering Filecoin adoption. They are the tip of the spear when it comes to bringing Filecoin into customer relationships, specific market verticals, doing kind of the BD and outreach to pull people into really nice, easy to use, good UX Filecoin tooling. But right now, most of these on-ramps are mostly operating off-chain and without transparency to the community about how customers that are routed to a particular on-ramp by go-to-market verticals or the Filecoin website or different kind of direct customer acquisition work that is happening within the ecosystem, how those users end up on chain. You can see a couple of graphs here on our on-ramp explorer that is monitoring on-chain data about how on-ramps kind of bring deal volume into the Filecoin ecosystem. And right now, as far as we're aware, there's zero paid deals coming from on-ramps on the Filecoin network. And so that creates this misaligned incentive between on-ramps and the L1 community where we're missing this visibility and accrual of on-chain value coming from on-ramps who are right now getting the massive amount of kind of support and marketing and kind of go-to-market activity. It also creates gaps in from like a how do we coordinate with each other perspective. If we bring a customer to a cave, how can we have visibility into that customer landing all the way into a data portability long-term Filecoin storage customer as well if we don't have on-chain data around it. Kind of made a very rough draft of a high-level alignment framework where our green, our strongest picture would be on-ramps that are creating significant demand for Filecoin block space. They're doing their payments in Filecoin backed tokens. There is kind of strong visibility and growth in the Filecoin ecosystem into how those on-ramps are bringing value into the Phil L1 ecosystem. They do their payments on chain, and ideally have like a direct kind of like Phil or Phil backed fee associated with that. On the other side, we have kind of the misaligned structure where you might have a project that is extracting net value out of the ecosystem, where either they're taking customers and not bringing that activity onto Filecoin L1 at all, or if they are, they're doing so with kind of free deal making structures whereby they're locking token in collaterals, but not actually bringing those paid deals onto the chain. And so really where we want to lead to is a more durable framework that can tie on-ramp success and create incentives for on-ramps to bring that economic activity into Filecoin L1 with kind of the overall value accrual within the Filecoin ecosystem longer term. So the proposal here is inspired by some of our conversations from FDS6 with folks from the BitTensor and Vana and BitRobot ecosystems talking about how they have structured subnet rewards as a model for creating business verticals that are targeting different submarkets within their economies. For Vana, that looks like different submarkets around, folks going after Twitter data versus AWS shopping data versus, building out their collection of, like collaborative videos or whatever data it is. In BitTensor, that looks more like their specialized compute networks that are taking slightly different computing strategies. BitRobot, that looks like different embodied AI or different robotics networks deployed around the world. And each of these has taken a slightly different approach to this. Probably the one that I have looked into and understand the best is the BitRobot one, where there is both a kind of like contractual IP agreement with a foundation that anchors a subnet and anchors the value flowing from a subnet into overall growth of kind of this collective movement, which is the BitRobot movement, where many subnets are contributing to it. And in exchange for that anchoring and that kind of like contractual agreement, they receive rewards from the BitRobot rewards model. And so you can go and watch this video if you missed it. It was a great panel, great discussion. I learned so much from this, and I think does a great is a great introduction for folks who maybe don't know very much about the Vana, BitRobot, BitTensor rewards models. So the proposal that is now up as a FIP discussion, still very open-ended, still is going to change a lot, but it is to create a incentive framework whereby the on-ramps bring on-chain deals into Filecoin L1. Those are evaluated by their on-chain metrics of how much data do they onboard, how much on-chain payments volume does that create. On-chain payments are evaluated by the total value that is being transacted and how much is being burned in fees. And so this would only be viable in a payments mechanism or a market mechanism within Filecoin that is also having a value accrual to fill tokenomics. And so that is creating on-chain fees from gas fees and direct like burn fees associated with on-chain payments. Data onboarded is creating some amount of locked collateral associated with that data being onboarded, at least in the POREP context. There's non-trivial locking for each new petabyte of data onboarded to the network. And so this proposal is to create a rewards pool and a rebate pool that will incentivize stickiness of these ecosystem partners and growth incentives for them to, burn more fees and bring more on-chain payments into the Filecoin ecosystem. The data onboarded here is not directly associated with the rewards themselves, but is maybe like a bar for how to size these rewards over time. When I talk about stickiness and growth, a key component of that is that this is a vested reward. It's not something that on-ramps bring some activity to the Filecoin ecosystem and immediately get more reward than the value that they brought to the Filecoin economy. This is intended to be a long-term vesting structure so that these rebates and rewards vest over multiple years. The current proposal is 36 months, so 3 years of vesting, during which time these on-ramps need to stay as active, growing participants in the Filecoin ecosystem in order to keep vesting those rewards. This also proposes having a kind of on-chain on-ramp alignment agreement, which kind of mirrors in BitRobot's context. They have this IP agreement for the data that they're onboarding. In this context, this would be around kind of like alignment, co-promotion, transparency reports around making sure that we can do shared go-to-market activities, bring more customers and users to on-ramps, have the visibility for how customers, paying customers, flow into on-ramp platforms and then flow into data onboarded and payments in on-chain paid deals in Filecoin L1, and that kind of allows us to do upfront work for on-ramps, do go-to-market work, do marketing, do cross-promotion on Filecoin L1 websites and specialized kind of like sandboxes for early customer adoption. We can do that effort together because there is this, long-term carrot that we can see that those on-ramps are long-term economically aligned to be around for many years for that upfront work to pay off. And there's also a legal contractual relationship to fall back on if any of those terms end up being kind of like not followed through on. Probably maybe the most controversial part of this FIP is or FIP proposal, it's not a FIP yet, but is where do the funds come from? Where should those rewards emerge? Kind of early, this has gone through a couple of iterations already, but an early version of this only had rebates and didn't have any rewards separate from those rebates. And in that model, you could hypothetically, instead of burning that subset of the rebate, just feed that into a rewards model that holds onto it for some period of time, such that you can then vest it back to the person, the original on-ramp. The current proposal in here is to continue burning all of those fees, but to create a rewards pool from which these rewards and rebates can be minted as these on-ramps participate in it. And so current proposal is to take a small percentage. This has hovered between 1% and 10%. Realistically, I think a 5 million fill rewards pool is plenty to start operating and executing this, and could be adjusted over time based on success of the program as seen by the community. But the proposal was to take a component of this like above baseline fill minting pool, which started out as 770 million fill, is now, after being at the baseline for 3.5 years, is maybe closer to 500 million fill remaining that were, is not expected to be minted or used probably ever in the network's lifetime. So that's one proposal. I think that's controversial as per chat discussions even earlier today. Alternatives are also viable to instead take that rewards pool from either flowing it directly from pro PGF allocations to allocate this pool over time, or to have a separate rewards pool, maybe parallel to pro PGF, that is then governed by the token-based governance an economic proposal that we heard from Tom earlier this morning. So those are alternatives for how this might be funded and how this rewards pool might be created. But to talk a little bit more about rewards pool sizing, there's kind of two main components of it. There's a base rebate for on-chain fees paid by these on-ramps, which would be kind of 20% of those on-chain fees vested over 36 months. And that kind of rewards and offsets the costs that otherwise they would have to be paying on some other storage network or system that they're operating on. And then there's also a kind of tiered onboarding reward structure, which is tied to how much storage is a on-ramp partner onboarding, how much on-chain deal payment volume are they bringing, and then it creates this bonus or this onboarding reward, which is a associated percent of those on-chain payments. We should know that on-chain payments are a gameable metric. You could have an on-ramp that they get X amount from their clients in deal payments, but they choose to put 10x of that amount in the on-chain deal payment that they pay to storage providers on-chain. That would be a very good problem to have, because that would create a lot more kind of on-chain locking of those activities and a lot more kind of the associated on-chain payment fees being accumulated for the Filecoin chain, which would be very cool. But that is a risk for having the bonus be associated with this on-chain payments, since this is something that you could have on-ramps controlling. Part of the mitigation of that is, again, having these rewards be vested over 36 months and conditional on continued performance and growth. So you'd have to run that attack in 3 years of high on-chain deal payment volume in the Filecoin ecosystem in order to earn all of those rewards. Again, that would be a great problem for the Filecoin ecosystem to have if it was achieved. But that the goal here is that we're balancing incentives. We want to have a carrot for strong, long-term aligned participation in the Filecoin economy, but we want to make sure that rewards are actually increasing network value accrual, not increasing inflation and circulating supply without actually creating more locking, more burning, more value accrual in the Filecoin economy than they mint. So that is a key constraint and something that we need to continue modeling and simulating in the exact parameters that are being drafted in this proposal. A new idea in like literally the last 12 hours was kind of in looking at these areas, especially where you have, say, a storage on-ramp that is bringing less than 100 terabytes of new storage per month to the Filecoin economy, which is most of them right now, most of them, not all of them. CID Gravity actually has more than 100 terabytes in the past month of storage onboarded. But definitely all of them are having less than 500 USDFC of on-chain deal payments that are happening in the Filecoin economy today. And so in that context, we would end up with on-ramps with relatively minimal bonuses. Again, these accrue over time. So, each month you would have more bonus being added to these 36-month vesting rewards and contracts. However, it would take a while to build up a significant alignment rewards pool that would then give, on the flip side, high confidence that like, oh yeah, this on-ramp is very long-term aligned. Look at all of the economic kind of like activity that they have invested in the Filecoin ecosystem. It's high confidence that they're long-term and incentive aligned with this ecosystem. And so a proposal was to add kind of a startup boost to more quickly help new entrants come into the Filecoin economy and build up a kind of like rewards pool that would demonstrate that long-term alignment. Again, that rewards pool is contingent on 36-month participation and maintenance of that growth metrics. But this might be a way to like kind of more quickly bring in and attract on-ramps that are then going to be long-term participants in the economy. Talking a little bit about the infrastructure that would need to exist in order to execute this proposal, we'd need to have an on-ramp registry actor, same as what Vana and BitTensor and BitRobot have. This would have the payout information for the on-ramp, the client IDs, so that we can look at the on-chain deal making, the CID of the contract signed, the legal contract signed and agreed to with, say, like the Filecoin Foundation or a similar network steward, maybe KYB metadata, so we can audit and understand who these on-ramps are, and then the approval from the Filecoin Foundation or similar steward side being like, yep, we have signed this contract. This is this on-ramp has met our kind of terms of service requirements to do that, like co-marking, co-GTM, and then receive these rewards. And then we would, on-ramps would continue engaging with that registry actor, and their status and eligibility would be recorded in that on-chain actor over time. And they could also submit metadata about, client transparency reports and other things like that to the community in a way that can be fully audited and based on on-chain data. this proposes some kind of high-level monitoring of that on-ramp data so that active on-ramps need to maintain growth, and if they aren't continuing to bring new data into the Filecoin economy, their rewards would pause. So they have a strong incentive to continue to keep their businesses active and growing over time. If that's things happen, right? Like, you move your community elsewhere, bugs happen, so that gives you a grace period to, hey, if you're not growing all the time, but you can recover and resume vesting of your rewards, if you're able to, get back to your activity within a 90-day grace period. But there's also, if you have an on-ramp that exits the ecosystem or stops participating and stops bringing data into the Filecoin ecosystem or terminates their existing storage as a client, then that would lead to revoking and slashing unvested rewards. Also, the rewards actor itself is something that would need to live on chain, whether that's some percent of baseline minting, or whether that's coming from a pro PGF grant or some other structure. That would then be the actor that is allocating these rewards to on-ramps based on their on-chain metrics. And this could be done just as, the current proposal is to do that as like a base reward actor in the Filecoin economy. That could also be done as a smart contract that is getting deposits from, say, a grants program or something like that. Here's high-level potential structure for how we can go about implementing this. Obviously, we're still in the definition phase, and we want to use FilDev 7 in Argentina to continue workshopping the technical design and specification here. There's also a need to do more like modeling and simulation on the correct parameters. Then could build out the rebate infrastructure of the smart contracts and the measurement systems, set up governance operations, and then actually do kind of an activation in mid 2026, like high level structure for how we could build this out. But there's also still a number of open questions and alternatives in the proposal that we need to continue working through first. So one great comment from Fatman was, hey, maybe we should have a prototype phase for this. Maybe, using a pro PGF grant prior to, doing on-chain hiccups around doing allocation from other rewards pools might make more sense and will be faster to implement. It's a great point, and we could absolutely do a trial before jumping into making on-chain changes. What is the right fill funding pool, location, and governance structure? We've heard some suggestions for how to, like the Constellation program of evolving treasury management and creating governance tokens that would allow direct community participation in allocating our kind of public goods funding treasury. I think that's a really interesting question of like how this proposal can dovetail with that and build on top of, putting the governance work in the hands of token holders who are then, locking their tokens and demonstrating their incentive alignment to make good decisions on the Filecoin network's behalf. And so I think that could be really interesting. I know that this above the baseline Filecoin pool is contentious, and I'm very happy to have there be other proposals. This is a straw man so that we, put something out on the internet that people think is wrong and we go and fix it and make it right. In terms of modeling and balancing reward parameters, I would love to work with the Crypto Econ Lab to run some simulations here of proposed rewards and rebate parameters. I don't think they're right now, and we need to find the balance between the constraints where it is incentive aligning enough for on-ramps to be like, this is a significant amount of rewards, and this deeply aligns me to the Filecoin ecosystem, while on the flip side, balancing circulating supply and inflation to not have a net extractive relationship to the Filecoin economy and end up minting more rewards than the value that it is bringing into the Filecoin economy over time, right? These are 3-year vested rewards, and we should harness that in the parameter space to find the right fit. If anything, I think I'm maybe a little too conservative right now in terms of the correct size of the rewards themselves, whereas the pool might be, larger than what is reasonable today or in the near-term future for kind of what on-ramps can actually achieve in terms of on-chain paid volume and storage volume. So simulations will help us find the kind of like right balance between these areas and bound the net impact on inflation to make sure it's value accruing for everyone. There is now a live FIP discussion 1204. I literally made it last night. So please jump in. A big thank you. We have a couple of comments already from folks in Asia where it was your morning and my late night. So thank you for jumping in and adding some comments. More comments, very welcome. Ideas, feedback. This is going to be in live iteration and updating. And so the hope here is that we use the next 3 weeks between now and PhilDev7 IRL in Argentina to continue workshopping and iterating, do some simulating on this so that we can come in person and discuss technical next steps. It might end up being from a community sentiment idea, like maybe we think this is a terrible idea. Okay, fine, then let's not spend a lot of time on it. But if we are excited about pushing this forward and solving the problem of having really good go-to-market alignment and bringing these on-ramps even more deeply into the Filecoin community, then giving ourselves the data with which to start like scoping a more concrete timeline and implementation plan would be the next step here. So please jump in here to the FIP discussion itself, and also give feedback if you would like to be part of a technical scoping session, or if you can commit some time and resources to helping us make sure that the parameters in here are the correct parameters. All right, well, that's it from me. Thank you so much.